Good morning, and welcome to Start Your Day Smart. You're here this morning with Martin Baillie, your business coach. And yes, it is Monday already. God, hasn't that weekend flown by? It feels like yesterday. It was only Friday. Anyway, so look, we're starting another week this week, and this morning we're going to talk about perturbation. Now, I hear you saying perturbation. What is perturbation? Well, perturbation is about a process you go through with pressure and everything else, and before you get to beyond that. We'll talk about that more in a minute. But anyway, we're talking about perturbation. We're talking about what perturbation is and how that affects us, and what sort of emotions we go through to get through that to the other end. Obviously last week I spoke. I think we ended up on Thursday. I was talking about fixed mindsets, and no, actually, I wasn't actually. I was talking about imposter syndrome. And imposter syndrome is quite an important thing. It plays a big part in all our lives, and has done, I'm sure, in everybody at certain points in time. So hopefully you took those hints and tips on board and understood that more about yourself, and enabled you to overcome. Now, just before we start, we're here every Monday to Thursday, 8:45 to 9 a.m. Please, if you're joining us this morning, say hello, say good morning in the chat box. Let me know you're there. It'd be great to hear from you. We're starting this week afresh, and it's all about mindset and understanding what our mind goes through and how we go through certain things, to better understand that, and by better understanding that, we can enable managing that, not controlling. Control's the wrong word. Managing our mindset. So anyway, look, let's start perturbation. So perturbation is a word, and the reason we're talking about this today is actually I was talking to morning Vicky. I was talking to a client quite a lot about this last week, because he referred to me about, well, I've had a couple of breakthroughs in my coaching recently, and I thought that was really interesting. So we started digging into it. So tell me about your breakthroughs, and the breakthroughs were coming through in terms of he's got more time, and he's spending more time with his family now, which is great. And he's actually employed some people. So those were the two breakthroughs that he had. And I remember in the build up to these breakthroughs, this client had gone through. He went through a real, turbulent time before he got to this point. And that got me thinking about perturbation. So perturbation is pressure. So if you can imagine a diagram, so you've got lots of pressure, like a kettle, bubbles boiling away, and then you've got yeah, and then you've got the perturbation. So it's just like a pressure cooker. So it's like a pressure cooker. So you perturbation, and then emotion, yeah. So you're in this pressure cooker. You could be struggling to make a decision. It could be a really important decision. It could be that actually you're trying to make a change. It could be that you're just not managing. You're not mastering your time properly, and that creates all this perturbation, all this pressure. Can you imagine that kettle bubbling, but building up to boiling point? And it's only when the emotion happens. So actually, either you do one of a number of different things. Your emotion bursts out of this pressure. Now it could be frustration. It could be anger. It could be happiness. It could be, an emotion has to happen. Once the emotion happens, there's a number of different things therefore happen after that. So either you get your breakthrough, just like this client did, and we'll talk more about him in a minute, or it could be a breakup. So you could move away from whatever it is, or you could break even. So you just stay as you are. But for that to happen, you've got to go through this process. You've got to go through this process of perturbation. There's no way to avoid it. But understanding that you're going through this process of perturbation is almost enlightening. Because you understand it, you know what's going on. It's a bit like what I've talked about for most of last week around fixed mindset, growth mindset, imposter syndrome. It's all about understanding what's happening. Because once you've understood what's happening, then you can do something about it. You can grab hold of it. You can you can manage it. You can understand it. So remember that the perturbation. It was interesting because I was talking to my client. We were talking about the different stages he went through and the emotions he went through. So he went through denial. he was in a stage of denial where it was like almost, well, I don't need to change. Nothing needs to happen. Then he went into a stage of frustration and anger to a certain degree with the situation. He got really, really, really frustrated and angry with the situation. And it took a lot of challenging to get him to move beyond that, to move beyond that position. Just if you're joining us this morning and you're here, I can't see you, so please come along, say hello to me. Say good morning, let me know you're there. If you get any thoughts, anything you want to put into the chat box, any thoughts you've got on the subject or opinions, get them out there, share them, let everybody see them. And don't forget, hit that like button, hit the like and hit the share, please. Hit like and share. So back to this client. So he was going through all those emotions. And then there was a lot of challenge you had to go on to get him to see what was actually happening, help him understand what was going on. And within about 2 weeks, 2 weeks after that, we had this moment of breakthrough. This moment where just like clarity here. He was clear on what he had to do. He was clear on what the issue is and what he was going to do to resolve them. So that was his breakthrough. And that breakthrough has been absolutely massive for him. Massive for him, because as I said, he's spending more time with his family now, and he's employed somebody within his business, which puts him into a very, very different place. So just think for a moment. Can you think back when you've had any moment in time where you feel all this pressure building, and then emotions happened, and then something's changed, or you've had a breakthrough, you've reacted, something's positive has happened out of it. You just think back. I can think of plenty. I can think of plenty of situations. So especially running your own business on a day-to-day basis. Morning, Dawn. Nice to see you. Good to see you. Yeah, on a day-to-day business, obviously you're making decisions all the time. Now, can you imagine what that perturbation would be like when you procrastinate? Yeah, how many of you procrastinate? How many people out there procrastinate? Hands up, you procrastinate. I procrastinate. Everybody procrastinates over something. We're not all perfect. We can't always make snappy decisions. There are times where we procrastinate. And sometimes that procrastination alone can build into perturbation, can build the pressure. Because you're not making a decision, you're sitting there allowing the pressure to build. And it gets to a point where you all of a sudden realize you've got to make this decision. The emotion's got to happen to get rid of this pressure. Because otherwise, it just builds and builds and builds and builds. And if you can imagine a kettle left boiling for any length of time, then it's going to implode, isn't it? It's going to dry up and explode. So when you feel that pressure, you've got to find a release for it. And whether that be making the decision, or whether that be just maybe something to do with fear. Maybe you're fearful of making a decision. You're fearful of taking the first steps. And my thoughts on that. If it's not going to kill you and you're fearing it, do it. So take those first steps. Make that breakthrough. Take the breakthrough. Get through the pressure, out the other end, into something that's far more positive. A positive space where you can generate the results that you look for. But understanding that pressure has to happen first. Now, it could be a small amount of pressure, it could be a large amount of pressure, but the pressure has to happen before you make the breakthrough. So that kind of sums up perturbation. And as I said, it could be procrastination, it could be somebody else applying pressure. It could be somebody else wanting something from you, and you're not forthcoming with it. So this pressure could come from other sources. It could come from external sources as well as internal resources as well. So you've got to be conscious of that as well, because sometimes you need to, if you're not able to make the breakthrough, you have to sometimes speak to the person who is applying the pressure and help them understand where you're at. So therefore the pressure either eases off a bit and allows you to make a decision, or keeps on being applied until you do make the decision. So perturbations is really, it's a big word. It's a word that doesn't really sum up all the bits of the pieces in this, but perturbations all about pressure and a breakthrough. Pressure and breakthrough. Pressure and a positive outcome coming from that pressure. So that's how we're going to start the week. We're going to start the week understanding perturbation. And as the week goes on, we're going to talk a lot more about what's going on in that head and that head of ours, and how that can impact us positively or negatively as far as business is concerned. So thanks for joining me this morning. I will see you all tomorrow morning. Remember, we're here from 8:45 to 9, Monday to Thursday every week. If you like what we're doing, like and share. Want to build a community here of like-minded people talking about getting their heads into the right place to be successful. And I'll see you all tomorrow. Thanks a lot. See you later. Bye.